Hey everyone, it's Norm Farrar, the Rise of the Bar. Hey, listen, I'm so frazzled. It's Norm Farrar, the beard guy, and today on today's show let's start this one more time. One of these days, I always thought that I would be having a problem with this bloody podcast, and today's that day. I have been in the fetal position, so I'm going to start this over right from scratch. How is that? This is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the rise of the micro brands.
Lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm, lunch with Norm.
And we are going to put that on our blooper reel. Holy jeez. Yes, believe me, before the podcast, we didn't even know if we'd have a podcast today. So we've been scrambling. I just threw on my camera and the camera wasn't working. The mic wasn't working. All I need is better equipment. Okay, Kelsey, how are you?
You okay there?
I don't know. You know, it really does take a lot to frazzle me. Yeah. And I'm frazzled today. So I got to take a sip of coffee.
No, you relax. I got it.
You got it? Okay, you just take it from here. I'm going to sit back. You take it.
All right. It's going to be Lunch with Kelsey today. Welcome, Dr. Kaz, Victor, Rad. Welcome to the show, Fatiha. It's great to see you guys. How is your Monday going? Just want to say that
my Monday's going.
How is everyone doing? Hopefully better than Norm here. So we do have our contest, our AirPod Pro contest. I'm going to drop the link in the comment sections here, but you can win a pair of AirPod Pros. So why not? What's there to lose, you know? Next, we also have our second contest happening exclusively in the group. So all you have to do for that contest is share a video and hashtag LWN Beard Nation and tag the podcast. That's the easiest way to do it if you haven't, and that's going to be with a consultation with me and Norm for an hour. So highly recommend you guys take advantage of that. All that information is in the Facebook group too. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. We got a great topic today, and yeah, I think let's just kind of jump into it. Hopefully, smash those like buttons.
We do have a really great guest today. Hopefully, he can do all the talking, and I'll just shut up and sit back. But anyways, we're gonna be talking about Amazon market forces, including Amazon aggregators, Chinese sellers, and more. So why don't we all sit back? I think I'm going to put something into this coffee and enjoy the podcast. Stephen, where are you? I guess I'm just talking because Steven's not here now. All right, just to show
there we are.
Okay. Hey. Holy geez. Today's podcast, I'm not going to delete it because you're on. But
Groundhog Monday, if you will.
Oh, my gosh.
Norm, no stress at all. It's a pleasure to be here. This is my second time on Lunch with Norm and with the Beard Guy here, guys. So super excited. We've also had Norm on my podcast. When Norm came on my pod, he talked about the secrets of sourcing. So if you guys haven't seen that one yet, come check that one out. But yeah, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, it's a pleasure. And, you know, today's topic is pretty interesting. You know, I like these outside forces and how they're affecting people. So I'm not sure exactly where you want to begin, but is there a starting point that you think that Amazon sellers should get into?
So I would say that a lot of what I'm going to talk about today will sound scary, but it's not. It's just informative, right? So we have seen sectors in the past go through a lot of merging and changes. And I think what we're experiencing right now in Amazon is the beginning of a lot of changes to come. So anybody that has questions while we're here today, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's definitely part of my style. So you guys are welcome to add it to the comment section. But the starting point of our conversation today is that there's a lot of market forces in Amazon right now that a lot of people need to be paying attention to. So to start us out, we have the Chinese on the left. The Chinese are going direct to consumer more and more. And what that does is it puts pricing pressure on you. The idea of private labeling a lookalike item is dying because of that. On the right, we have the Amazon aggregators. These are FBA acquirers who are coming in and throwing around millions of dollars, putting $1 million on red and rolling the roulette table. And what these guys are doing is putting pressure on you from a competition standpoint for making it so you have to have better and better assets, your A+ content, your title, your photo, all that kind of good stuff. They're increasing your competition. So you got pricing pressure from the left, aggregators on the right, increasing complexity. And then finally from the top, I wish I had 3 hands for this. From the top, you've got Amazon themselves increasing the documentation required and the complexity required to actually run your business. As a couple of examples for that, supplements world, you got more documents needed for certificate of analysis, pesticides documentation affecting multiple categories, and just the overall customer service experience of being an Amazon seller is at an all-time low, arguably. As one key example, a lot of people, this is going to be news to a lot of people. Most people don't know this. The Amazon call centers in the Philippines were just closed. And that might come to a surprise for a lot of people because their support is barely even functioning right now. So like, what is Amazon doing? I don't have the answer to that question, by the way. But what I do know is I like to think of myself as the taxi driver of Amazon. So when enough people get in my taxi car and we go to destination A 50 times in a row, I know something's happening at destination A. Well, it's a pretty big market force change when Amazon's like, hey, we got 3 call centers in the Philippines. They're closed. See ya. All of a sudden. And I don't know if they're moving them to the States. I don't know if they're moving to Costa Rica. I don't know what it is. So there's all these market forces coming in from the left with the Chinese, aggregators from the right with pressure, and then Amazon's policies pressing down. So it can feel a little claustrophobic these days as an Amazon seller. And my message today is informative. Be aware of these market forces, navigate them, be ready to pull up your dukes and weave and dodge a little bit because if you can't, you might as well sell now. Go sell to one of those Amazon aggregators buying all of those businesses. And by the way, I don't want you to sell, but I'm giving you the giving you the opt-out now at the beginning of our conversation. If you're not ready to increase your complexity and take on more, you should just go sell. That's the easy answer. Or lower your prices and death spiral trying to fight the Chinese. That's another easy answer, but your business will fail. So the tough answer, the answer that we'll be talking a lot about today on how to deal with these market forces is about building a community. So Norm, with that in mind, where would you like to dive in?
Well, I think it's kind of interesting about the Philippine call centers just dying. You know, where are they going to go? And my thought is, I can pretty much guarantee you this, that they probably just went to a cheaper call center.
I don't think they're going to send them to India, though.
No, I don't think so. Well, let's try to figure out, one of the cheaper countries in the world coming up with a little bit of tech.
Costa Rica, maybe Brazil, possibly.
I wasn't going to even say Costa Rica. It's all speculation, but I'm thinking it's going to be a different country that's coming up with some sort of incentive to get Amazon there. I mean, the Philippines, for the most part, was bad enough. Every time I called, out of 10 people, I would get one correct answer and then 9 variations on the answer. And most of them were wrong.
There's some copy pasta. Good luck.
They've cost me tens, maybe hundreds of thousands of dollars because of misinformation that came back to bite me, even though Amazon gave me the information and I had a case of it. They would tell me the wrong information, especially with my soap. Split it up, do it the right way. Well, the right way was getting me tons of sales. They would tell me to split it up. Then they would tell me to do it a different way. And it ended up, most of the cents that I had, I ended up just closing down because they were, and right now with all these stupid regulations, it's very hard to sell what I was selling at the price that I was selling it for.
The right hand at Amazon does not know what the left hand is doing. They're fighting each other.
Yeah. And you know what? You also brought up another good point. So survival, if we're talking about, forces on the Amazon landscape right now, you're 100% right. Well, in my opinion, we had a person on the other day that was talking about finding a product and not changing it, just go with the flow. And I'm on the opposite side. So Afalabi, Kevin King, there was a few other people that came on here and said, in today's environment, you have to be an innovator. And that's it. That's that simple. You know, you just can't go to Amazon, go to Alibaba. And I'm surprised I said that right, but Alibaba.
Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, say that 10 times. And anyways, you know, just pick a product. You know, if it's even a slightly different thing, like a different color, same material, different color, spring slightly different, just something to differentiate yourself, even in your copy. So, you know, Diane Bolster was on, and she was talking about making up words. You know, just that you differentiate yourself from the competitor. You know, it's really cool what she does with words. But anyways, yeah, I'm seeing a huge change. I know over at Honu, we're seeing where we used to go out and just source the average product. Now it's product innovation. Those are the types of clients that are coming in. So I don't know about you, but that's what we're seeing.
And I'm like secretly holding out that Amazon's going to just open up like 20 American call centers. Like that's what I'm secretly hoping for. Right. It's like,
okay. Yeah. And I'm thinking that Norm the Gnome will come to life.
Well, we know that Jeff Bezos wants to get off the rock, right? So like he doesn't freaking care. And now he's not even CEO later this year. But I don't know. I mean, like, after Amazon has abused sellers for this long, like there has to be a light at the end of the tunnel at some point. You know, they throw us a few bones. They're like, hey, you know, we'll call you before we suspend you the next day. Like that was a nice bone. That's cool. At least I won't wake up in the morning and be suspended before I get a phone call to tell me why I'm suspended. Yeah. But you're right, Norm. Like the ability to get accurate, transparent information out of Amazon is an all-time low. I think I have like 17 videos on brand registry bugs. There's 17 unique brand registry bugs that I've like documented. And that's ridiculous. Like why isn't there some UX guy over at brand registry, like following the content and just fixing them and like solving it for millions?
Can you imagine? So Amazon's whole business model is around customer experience, the customer experience. How many times do you hear that? What about the seller experience? Seller experience on Amazon is horrible. It's gone from okay to bad to worse to I don't give two hoots. You know, it's incredibly frustrating. I'm venting today, not only because I started off bad, but
it'd be nice if Amazon gave you some, you know, a nice little blessing here and there.
Yeah, but you know, and I don't want to give people who are selling on Amazon, like you said at the beginning, a scare. But it's things that you have to consider.
It's informative though. It dictates like your strategy. It's not a like scare and go away. It's more of like informed decision making. You need to know what you're getting into.
Right, exactly. And on that note, let's go down that path. What are some things that people can do to prepare themselves for the 2021 Amazon?
So we've seen the Chinese just completely break every possible rule, bribed every official, and done everything unethically possible to destroy many people's businesses and listings. And Amazon has put in some barriers to protect you, but not enough of them. The most important barrier, though, if you're not taking advantage of this, is to have brand registry. If you don't have brand registry today, you're a fool. You are a fool. It costs less than $800 to get a trademark. Go get it done. And you can file your brand registry in under 7 days. You can take a pending trademark and file for brand registry within a week. So get that done. If you don't do that, you are begging for hijackers. There are hijackers who will come in and change your brand data, your brand name, everything. Then there are unauthorized resellers that could also show up in addition to that. By having your brand registered, you cut out a lot of those problems, like at least 80% of those problems.
Okay, so sorry, but you can have brand registry. I've had this where I've had brand registry and I've still had people come on
yes,
and hijack and take images and take what, basically do what they wanted with the listing. And it took forever to unlock it.
But brand registry will solve like 80% of those before they even get to you. So you're right. The problem still exists, right?
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the level of catalog control, you got the retail team up here, you got brand registry, you got the first seller of record, and then all other sellers down here. And occasionally one of those other sellers like leapfrogs up the ladder and changes something, or they take an Amazon insider at the retail team and changes something and mucks with it. Like that's happening. There's lawsuits galore. You can see them publicly. But what I would say is one of the things that people should be doing that they probably don't know they should be doing. This is probably the first big takeaway of today's session. If you sell in the United States and do not sell anywhere else, at bare minimum, go load your data to Canada. And the reason I say to do this is because those hijackers, those Chinese abusive sellers, are going to load your data to Canada and change it to try and get you taken down. We've seen this in at least 20 accounts. They'll add words like cocaine, heroin, drugs, etc. into your keywords to get your listing yanked in the United States by changing data in Canada. We've also seen this happen in the UK, Germany, and other markets. So the most important takeaway I would give you to fight hijacking is to load your data to all core Amazon platforms, at bare minimum Canada, potentially United Kingdom as well.
Okay, so let's back up on that. So if you're saying add your listing to Canada, Mexico, okay, so the unified accounts here in North America. What I've heard and I've seen is that, yeah, they've gone and they've changed a word or two in Canada, and it's caused problems. But won't that still cause a problem?
If you at least load the data, then they can't change it because you're the seller of record.
Okay.
So it locks the listing. But if you don't show up and somebody else does, even if they're like one of those drop shippers who are, jacking your price up 50% in Canada in hopes of selling one of them out of the US and shipping it out of Amazon FBA US into Canada, not even talking about NARF, just typical drop shipping 101, it will prevent a lot of that problem.
Another thing that we were talking about, haven't talked about it, I don't think, on the podcast, was talking in our Centurion group, was flat files and loading up every bloody field you can in flat files. Because another way that these guys are coming in are through empty fields. They're loading up
secondary
a flat
attributes.
File. Yeah.
Yep.
And so if you fill up as many flat files or every field that you possibly can, that'll prevent that from happening.
So there's a few questions that are coming in as we've dialogued. I would love to answer a few of these. So one person asked, does NARF take care of loading data to Canada? And the answer is no, it does not. You need to load the data directly in Canada yourself.
Okay, explain NARF.
So NARF is the North American Remote Fulfillment Program. And what that does is it syncs your inventory into other countries. So you still need to supply the fields. You can launch NARF, but then if you left like your description or your keyword spot blank, that's insufficient. So NARF is a good idea. Add anywhere from 3 to 6% to your bottom line, but you need to have all the fields present and filled in. Very important.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's stop for a second because, we could go off on this topic forever. First of all, you have a giveaway today. Can you explain what it is?
We do. So anybody listening today, every single member, we're going to give away our phase 1 SEO plan. It's an actual SOP. It's what my actual team uses. And this will get your SEO in good shape. So if you've got a listing, you haven't done a lot of SEO work to it, this SOP will be a huge lifesaver. I believe Kelsey will post a link in the comment section so you guys can check that out.
Yep,
Perfect.
I'm posting it right now. So yeah, look out for that, guys. And yeah, if you're enjoying today's episode, please like and share the podcast.
If you like the blooper reel.
Yeah. Oh, I think people will.
I can just hear the comments.
And then Kelsey, are we doing the special one giveaway? Or are we doing that later?
We can talk about it now. So yes, for our special one, only one person can win this. What is the prize, Stephen?
So we're giving away a My Amazon Guy t-shirt. these t-shirts are amazing. They're soft, silky smooth t-shirts.
Just like Steven.
I personally vetted out like 10 different t-shirt companies to find the nicest t-shirt that I actually wanted to wear myself, and high quality. So we'll give one t-shirt away. Kelsey, you can decide how to make that happen.
Yeah, so all you guys need to do is put the hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, and you'll be entered into today's contest.
Is that legitimately how you guys do it?
Yep.
That is, yeah.
We love
do
Kelsey.
that. Wheel of Kelsey in the comment section, and then we'll show you the wheel after.
And don't forget the 2 tags.
That's right. If you tag 2 people, you'll be entered. You'll get an extra bonus entry as well. So
all right. And
That's
if
awesome.
do you have them in XXX, Stephen?
I have some on order.
Oh, okay.
I might be short on that at this very moment, but I do have some on order.
No problem. Okay, so let's continue on. Oh, let's continue on with a couple of questions because it looks like there's a bunch that came in.
Yes, let's grab at least Danielle's trademark question.
Sure, Kelsey will go through them.
Okay, Daniels. Okay.
If he's doing his job.
So Daniel said, I'm planning to get my pending trademark number even before launching my first product. It's not necessarily a question, but I think it's a good observation topic because you have to have your brand name affixed to your product, and stickers are getting a little bit more scrutiny nowadays. So if you can, try and get your brand packaging printed. It will help you get through that process. This is one of the 17 brand registry videos I have, because it's getting a little bit more troublesome to get your trademark to go through. I just filed one last week for one of my new brands that I'm launching this summer. It took a full 5 days for them to finally get mine approved.
Yeah.
We got a lot of viewers love this. A lot of people love Kelsey, I think. Might be the free t-shirt. I don't know.
I think it's they misheard. So it's a Wheel of Kelsey, not We Love Kelsey, but I'll take it anyways. Thank you, everyone. All right, we do have a second question from Marcia, if you guys want to jump into that one. So Marcia is asking, so when you design and create a new product, do you recommend waiting until you get brand registry before you launch? It's really hard to wait that long when you're excited about bringing a new product line to the market.
Yes, and just in case you missed it, you only have to wait 7 days. You can take a pending trademark, go to brandregistry.amazon.com. This is regardless of where you buy the trademark, anywhere at all. And shameless plug, we do sell trademarks at my Amazon guy. But if you get the trademark from any source, you can go to brandregistry.amazon.com and file it. And within a full 7 days, you can have your brand registered. And there's a lot of benefit to that, because then when you go to list your item for the first time, you don't have to go through the approval process. You just have brand registry and it's done.
So people were, and we've talked about this before, but it was the acceleration program, the AI acceleration program. It exists. You'll see it, but like you were just saying, you don't have to go with one of the recommended lawyers. You can just now get it approved, and within days, be up and selling.
I find the We Love Kelsey and Wheel of Kelsey a hilarious malfunction. Sorry, Kelsey, I made that one happen, didn't I?
No, I love it. I'm basking in it right now. This is great.
I've just rebranded your giveaway.
All right. Do you guys want another question? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So from Victor, are you hearing anything about Amazon's live video verification requirement for brand registry, showing inventory, etc.?
I have not heard anything about this. All I know is that the iPhone is required to do Amazon Lives, and I think it's ridiculous that Android users like myself have not been given access.
Yeah, I can't answer anything there, Victor.
Okay. All right. From Dr. Cause. Hey, Pope, I trademark the names of my suppliers where possible. So if they do decide to go DTC, they need to come to Dignity. Any other strategies up your sleeve?
So Dr. Cause, I think you're fighting dirty on this one. And as long as you have the branding of a packaged item with those suppliers, then it's probably kosher. And you would want to own that. You would want to own that. Dr. Cause is a super fan, also attends our podcasting. So it's nice to see here over on Norm's podcast. And what I would say though is, try and protect your intellectual property wherever possible, because you will have challenges down the line. But if you are trademarking brand names so that the Chinese don't go direct to consumer, what I would say is they're probably going to just make a new brand name and do it anyway. Probably won't stop them.
Yeah, something similar.
Okay, so we do have lots of questions. So if you guys want to go back
Let's-
to a
yeah,
conversation.
let's-
Shove
let's
through them.
continue with
I'll be
these
quick
ones.
on
All
that.
right. Okay, from Rad, when you create a variation for a product, why Amazon lists your product on different categories?
Amazon has come out with a lot of new categories. And so sometimes there's some defunct old categories. And so when they load new listings, they have a different one. When you create a parentage, you're supposed to have the same category on all of them, including the parent. The brand name attribute must also match in all of the parent and children. So if you have it misspelled, one capital letter difference, proper case, etc., space, whatever, your parentage will not go through. There's a lot of parentage theory and technicalities to be aware of. Tons and tons of things to keep in mind.
Yeah, I've seen that just recently where somebody had their brand registry as uppercase and then all lower, but then they put it as with other products all uppercase and uppercase, lowercase, lowercase, and it screws everything up. It's not the same brand.
You can request what's called a trademark alias, but it's a pain in the butt to get. So better off just get it right to begin with. I like proper case personally. And by the way, a lot of attorneys, when you file a logo mark, will just put it in all caps and they will F it up. So
Yeah.
I recommend word marks, not logo marks.
Okay, great. This is from Brett at FBA Excel. Stephen, what's the most ninja way to quickly load my USA listing data into other marketplaces? The fastest to prevent black hat attacks. Which files do you need for this process?
So I would request a category export report, which you have to file a ticket in the US to do. And then I would try and push that into the Canadian marketplace at bare minimum. Some of the fields are a little bit different, may not be perfect, but it should still load. Another method would be to click the international sync button between platforms. That would be another way to do it.
Okay, great.
And that catalog, catalog export file does not kick around forever.
It stays about a week.
Yeah.
Okay, Marcia is saying, thanks, Stephen. Wish I had known that when I first launched my last brand on Amazon, would have saved me so many headaches and sleepless nights.
Yes, this is why we talk about it, to help the next guy, for sure. But I feel for you, Marcia.
Okay, from Fatiha, do you suggest we put in trademark pending in our listing?
Nope, not necessary. As soon as you have brand registry, that's all that matters. Avoid any R symbols. Amazon hates them. Attorneys tell you to put R symbols everywhere, but Amazon hates them. Not needed. Just file brand registry and you're good to go.
Okay, great. And I believe that's everything for now. So yeah, I'm just double checking. I think that's good for questions for now. So yeah, I'll come back if there's any more.
All right. So we talked a lot about the scary things happening. How can we prevent these scary things, or how can we combat it, to continue to grow? Because Amazon is still a very viable platform. We're just, spouting off and venting. But, how do you go and defend yourself against all these things that are happening right now, other than the flat file?
There's not a lot of proactive measures you can take right now from a hijacking standpoint beyond what we just talked about. You got to be reactive beyond that. So what I would say, though, is there are ways to be proactive against the competition going up. And so perhaps it'd be good to pivot that direction. And what I mean by that is just take your listing to the next level, right? So Norm, if I were to ask you, what the target demographic of an item is, you can pick the item. Let's do this. It'll be kind of fun. Pick any item that's found on Amazon.
Norm the gnome.
Norm the gnome. Okay. So not sure if that's a real item or not, but
is.
So this gnome item, who is the target demographic?
It's for, let's see, and I'm going to be making this up. It's probably for men or women, so it's gender neutral. People who like the outdoors, like working in their gardens. I don't know, probably something along those lines.
What is their number one problem?
Their number one problem, let's see.
I know this is a weird line of question.
Yeah, what's their number one problem? Are you talking about like why they would get the gnome?
What's something that all of the people in this target demographic would share? So do they have, mites in their gardens? Do they have, a need to scare away birds and that's why they're putting the gnome up? Or do they don't have enough items in their garden, they're looking to fill it up? What's the...
I would have to say the number one, like at least for me, is a podcast mascot, which I didn't have. For number one problems out in their gardens would probably be garden decoration. Maybe that's what it would be. I don't know.
And so with that in mind, our target demographic becomes a little bit more clear as we have this conversation, right? So one of my favorite ways to cut to the chase on this is to use a silly metaphor. So if we were to sell a Russian mail order bride, and I know this is a weird example, our target demographic would be 3-time divorced truck drivers. And the reason why I use this example is because it hits straight to the core of the target demographic conversation, right? You know that if somebody's been a truck driver and been divorced 3 times, that they're absolutely going to be your target demographic to buy a Russian mail order bride. And so when we talk about market polarization discussions, and if we go back to the gnome for a moment, right? So we would have to tailor in that deep to understand who should be in the pictures next to the gnome in the secondary images, who should be demonstrating the video concept of the item, what should be in the title, the keywords, the A+ content. It needs to be done at that kind of level of scrutiny. Because if you were to sell like a hand sanitizer wristwatch, right, you could sell that item to kids, you could sell that item to joggers. And if you tried to sell it to both simultaneously on the same listing, your conversion rate would be 1/5 what it could be if you picked one audience over the other. Casting a narrow tent will increase your conversion rates considerably.
Okay, I used to think that way. So we do create lots of personas when we're putting together our products, and it was very specific. Then we started thinking a little bit further outside of the box and saying we're missing out people who are on the overflow. So these are not people that were specific enough to be targeted in the persona. And we noticed that when we started to broaden the persona, that we would get a lot more sales.
So I think this is a great case in point of always test anything you hear on a podcast, right? So here you have Steven entering the space saying, hey, go narrow, and Norm saying go broad. So the audience, whenever you hear an expert like me come on and talk, you should always test everything. Don't take it for granted.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. And I would say there might be some differing data sets that would prove Norm correct in some categories and would prove me right in others. And by the way, this might be the first time we've ever disagreed on anything. But I would say if you put a picture of both a kid at a playground wearing said watch with push button hand sanitizer and had a photo of a jogger in their 40s, I think your conversion rate would be considerably less. I
would agree with that. Yeah.
So I think it matters to have a hyper-specific target demographic. By casting a shallow net, your conversion rates will go up. And when conversion rates go up, your keyword rankings increase, and you actually reach more audience and higher traffic numbers because of it. So that's my operating thesis.
Okay. Very interesting. Now, are there any other questions while we go forward?
Yes, we do. From Yarrow, if I create a listing with FBM SKU, but ASIN is not searchable for 3 days, what do you do? Hidden suppression.
Hidden suppression, top two reasons for this. Number one, it's the main image. Number two, it's the title. If you have the word gift in your title, it will be suppressed, and it's a hidden suppression. I have a video on hidden suppressions. Just type into YouTube, my Amazon guy, hidden suppression. Watch that video after our podcast today. If it's the main image, it's usually because there's an icon in the image somewhere, and you need to remove the icon or the secondary item that's not the main product.
Let's talk about hidden suppression a lot. We don't normally, talk about this topic. What are some other, well, first of all, just for our audience, especially if they're new, what is hidden suppression?
So this is where there's no tool telling you your item is currently suppressed. it is just simply not showing up in the search results. And that can be very problematic because if your item is not being found in search, you can't sell it to anybody outside of advertising. So I'm going to, if with your permission, I'll demonstrate how to check for this, if that's
Sure.
okay with you. So just hit share my screen. Kelsey, if you're welcome to add it. So this is my Silly wine glass brand. This particular wine glass is my top seller. It's a 42% conversion rate. It's currently suspended from advertising. And I'm having a lot of trouble with this listing right now. So I'm taking the ASIN for this particular listing. I'm going to hit enter here. And you see how it shows up like this? This is proof that the item is not suppressed. It shows up in search. And so what you can do to see if your item is suppressed right now, you could test this in another tab of your browser. Take your ASIN and type it into search and see if it shows up. If you've never done this or you haven't done this in 30 days, it is definitely something I would add to your list of things that you should attempt on a frequent basis. Then once you click on the listing, if it loads, you're good to go. There's all kinds of catalog bugs that can happen when the category tree is messed up, where the category ID is not present, the main image is suppressed, the title is insufficient. And while we're here, the word drinking, this is something I thought was the reason why they were banning me from ads on this particular listing. So I actually put the word censored over the word drinking and did not get it reinstated. So now we've removed the word wine. These are the sort of things when you talked about customer service at Amazon sucking. Here's a case example, right? Like I'm being targeted and banned from advertising on this particular listing, and I'm like having to test different things to see if I can get it reinstated. They won't like give you explicit T and C on like what the cause of the ban is. But then if we type in I'm not social distancing wine glass or whatever. Hold on, let me try that again. Wine glass, social distancing. You're going to see that I have numerous competitors that show up and are advertised. And so it's really interesting to see that other people can get advertised. And I actually didn't trigger one right here, oddly enough. But I have the same exact glass as dozens of other people, and maybe they finally took them down like in the last 24 hours. But there's policies that are not necessarily given to the same level across sellers. So it can be extremely frustrating.
Yeah, it definitely can. So what are some other, we started to talk about it. You were just mentioning a couple of things like on the image, having a logo. What are some other ways that you can find or look for hidden suppression?
That's it. That's the only technique. You can get suppressions located by general tools. I'm a big fan of Helium 10. Mm-hmm. And they will tell you when an item is physically suppressed, but not a hidden suppression. There's only one technique that I know of to track a hidden suppression. And so the difference between a hidden versus a physical suppression, if you will, is the hidden is just not, there's no indication. Amazon is not giving you a red flag at all. Whereas if they do give you a red flag, all the tools on the market, Helium 10 included, can track that, and then they can send you an email notification.
So do you go in and take all of your products and just put in your ASIN in the search field? Do you have somebody do it and just check it out once a month?
Yeah, pretty much. Or if I see sales go down, it's part of our diagnostic tool set where we can check for it.
Okay, very good. I thought I saw something from Victor, Kelsey, about this as well.
What about invisible degradation rather than suppression, hurting rank, etc.?
This is a more complicated subject with not as easy of a solution. Typically what happens in a situation like this is your item has lost some of its keyword rankings in mass or in specific keyword areas. The number one cause of this is typically external traffic signaling to Amazon, rebate giveaways, or abuse of a particular like search, find, buy aspects. We saw the biggest hit on this back in September. We had dozens and dozens of clients that complained about losing their keyword ranking. And in my conversations with most of them, it usually traced back to an external traffic issue. So the solution to this is turn off whatever external traffic you have at that particular junction, run some Amazon PPC on those terms affected, and hopefully try and recover the terms. There's a high probability you will not fully recover them because Amazon is physically penalizing you because they perceive you as abusing terms and conditions.
Interesting. Oh, I just see one of the best entrepreneurs I know, John Wolf, is on.
Hey,
Welcome,
John.
John. I haven't talked to you in a long time.
All right, so our next question is from Tony. The brand is at the end instead of the front as Amazon requests. Could that cause a suppression?
Most likely not. Their tools are not sophisticated enough to catch that particular issue. Many categories do require the brand name to be in the front. If it's anything related to health, medical, it's topical or consumable, then it absolutely must be in the front. You will have huge amounts of problems. If you're in a gift giving category like me, all bets are off. You can get away with a lot more things. And so clearly it's way more important to have a non-brand term at the front of a gifting item because all the search volumes are present for that. Now, with that said, they no longer weight the title for the front or the end. But from a consumer standpoint, when I'm trying to hit people with just seeing half of my title in the search results, I would prefer them to see, I'm not drinking alone, I'm social distancing versus my brand name, Momster. So yes, you can test putting your brand name in different locations. It is against terms and conditions, but it's not something they actively throw down on in certain categories. In certain categories, it's a deal breaker, but in gift giving categories, there's no problem with it at all.
Yeah, and sometime you'll get suppressed from it. Sometimes they'll force it. Amazon will put the brand name in the front of the listing, correct?
Yes, they will co-opt your listing. They'll do what's called a retail contribution, and then it becomes really hard to change your listing. If any of you are experiencing difficulty changing your listing, brand registry tickets are the best way to solve it. That's not a guaranteed way. It's just the best way to solve it. Instead of putting it through seller support now, go through brand registry support. This has been true since about January.
Okay, a little bit off topic, but what are your thoughts on the transparency of program? Anything over $20? You don't like it?
The transparency program, I think, is useless. A lot of hoo-ha going around doing a bunch of things and tracking, but no actual benefit. So a lot of effort, little return.
All right. So I got a couple questions for you then.
Sounds like you use it then.
Oh, I do. And these are on, this has solved a big problem for me. So I took on a brand. So I became the authorized agent for the brand, right? So the brand had problems right from the get-go. And this comes back with capital, lowercase, all caps. It was a mess. So we got that straightened up. The problem was now, if anybody else is doing this, this is how I solved the issue. But if you've got somebody who you sell to resellers or distributors. So this company sold to two huge distributors. They had a reseller agreement saying that they're not allowed to sell on Amazon.
By the way, this is the one use case when I would say use the transparency program.
But I'm just kind of curious because that was my solution to the problem. So anyways, the resellers or the distributors sold to other sellers who automatically populated on Amazon.
Yep.
And now we had 23 different people selling against us, lowering the price. And the problem is, Amazon doesn't honor MAP. So what ends up happening? You've got this brand that wants to be a really high perceived value.
Yep.
Now people are, going 20, 30, 40% off, trying to get quick volume sales, and we couldn't do anything. So the only thing I could do, like we put out notices to all these brands saying like this was a cease and desist thing. We couldn't do anything with the Project Zero because they weren't counterfeit. So, all right, let's try transparency. It's the only thing we could do.
This is the one use case where I'd say transparency is a great idea. And that's because most sellers aren't selling to distribution networks today. But
Right.
the larger you get, the more likely you will take on a distribution network. And it's very difficult for you to hold your own distributors accountable, let alone who they sell to accountable, right? So that's the problem. So the transparency program would help you trace and figure out which distributor to cut out. And I think that does merit using the program. But for somebody who doesn't have a distribution network, I don't see any use case or reason to use transparency.
So even to take, because you will get the odd hijacker right? Now, and I've seen this before where, people come on and they'll start to undercut you because it's a free market, right? Like even when, so yeah. Okay, here's another question about brand registry. So I've seen some of our clients with brand registry, and yet people buy their product wholesale, wherever they get it from, and now they come up again rebates. They buy 100 units from a rebate company, and now they become, they're on your listing, even though you have brand registry. That's why, we were looking at transparency. But have you seen that? Like you can't get those people off of the listing.
I'm against rebate programs. And so I think they cause more problems than good things that they bring today. And I would rather invest money into Amazon PPC and not taint the distribution network. Mm-hmm. So that's a position that I hold. But I know that a lot of people use rebate programs. And so the moment you are messing with distribution networks, then yes, transparency becomes more and more valuable. So I'm conceding ground to you the more you talk, Norm.
No, I'm kind of curious because I wasn't using transparency for the most part, and I would only use transparency in higher dollar products. And if there was a case like we had with this other one where we had 2 distribution companies selling out to all these other people, and we had 23, and they would not give up. All right, so let's talk a little bit about PPC 2021. What are you doing differently?
There's a lot of buzz for keyword isolation right now. I definitely think that it's merited. I think that segmentation is fundamental to success right now. I think that there's a lot of segmented ad types that a lot of people still aren't doing. I think they're basic by now, but I still think it's worth mentioning them. If you're not running video ads, you are behind the curve. If you're not running display ads in 3 different ways to target, including retargeting past viewers, past purchasers, and lookalikes. These are all things that are now available in most Seller Central portals, not even to mention DSP, which I don't think is necessary for 90% of the audience. And then on top of that, you can now customize display text. You can write in your particular copy for a particular item, customizing text down to a particular item in display. And you also have the ability to do custom brand headline ads, which is a way to put in a bigger image, which is custom, that takes up like 3 times the amount of space versus a regular sponsored brand headline ad. On top of that, I think there are ASIN targeting techniques we could talk about. Defensive targeting ASINs, offensive targeting ASINs, running auto campaigns with negations, which a lot of I'll indict a lot of lazy advertisers don't run negations on their automatic campaigns, and I think they're crazy. Then there are techniques where you can put broad match, phrase match, exact match. Again, about 70% of what I just went through in a very quick manner is technically basic and been done for about a year now. But I think that most people are not taking those proper steps to actually execute some of those basics today.
Okay, very good. Now, if people wanted to get more information about that, actually, we should probably get you back on and talk a bit more about that one. All right. One of the other ways that we're looking at right now, what are the best ways to grow your sales on Amazon profitably in today's craziness?
Have a great product. That's the easy answer. The tough answer is find a product that cannot be easily replicated and has intellectual property. That's the tough answer. Right. And so that means not just having a trademark, but it also might mean having a patent potentially, so that somebody can't come in and rip you off as quickly. The lifespan of an item, I think would, if we polled the audience right now, we would get a very wide ranging response on this. Quite frankly, Norm, I'm actually curious what you think is. What do you think the average shelf life of an item is right now on Amazon?
The life expectancy?
Yeah. So like producing an item, like how long it will sell well on Amazon.
1.5 years?
And I would say that's about right? Like 1.5 years to 2 years, somewhere in that range. And it's probably going to decrease the longer it goes on because more people are sourcing better and better. So if you keep that in mind, that means you have to always be launching new products. So sourcing products becomes extremely important. And I honestly do not have a person in my network that can source better than Norm. So you guys are listening to, in my opinion, the most talented sourcing person in my network.
Oh, thank you very much, sir.
Well
give me back
earned.
my $20.
I don't have a hard stop here in 4 minutes. If you want to get to a few more questions, up to you, Norm.
Sure, let's do that. Kelsey, are there more questions? Well, first of all, before we get to the questions, Kels, let's just do the hashtag. What is it now? We changed it. It's Wheel of Kelsey, not I Love Kelsey. Okay, so it's hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, and that is going to be for a My Amazon Guy t-shirt.
Yes, that is
Hopefully
correct.
in triple XL, ship to.
Yeah, so just put in a hashtag Wheel of Kelsey and it'll be entered. If you tag 2 people, you'll get a bonus entry. As well, we put this link in before, but for a free phase 1 of Steven's SOP for SEO, I'm putting that in the comment section. It's completely free, and it's in the comment description. I also put it into the Facebook group too.
Now, we've talked about this before, and it was fantastic. The way that you've laid this out, your phase 1, is very different than most people. And I really like the way that you laid it out.
So we've added a phase 0 now, which we haven't talked about publicly before. So we have 3 phases of SEO, and then I'll talk about phase 0. So phase 1, it's all about best practices, no commas, no duplicate words in the back end of your search terms. It's about indexing for as many keywords as possible. Phase 2 is the pink word update, also called the Dennis Rodman update, lovingly, because there are words on the back end that are duplicated from your title and bullets that are not required in the search term field. So we wait until phase 2 to remove those for additional indexing. Then you swap them out for additional words. And then phase 3, you throw out every rule preceding. And phase 3 is about ranking matriculation, any keywords between ranks 20 through 50. You need about 50 keywords to enter phase 3, and then push those to the top of search. And then you redo your title, your bullets, your A+ content, all about that. Our new phase 0 is we're looking at competition keywords and using a new ranking system to basically articulate, like, okay, you got 10 competitors and 4 of those competitors are in rank 1 for this term. Let's give that a score of 9. But this other term, 7 competitors are ranking for that one, or 8 competitors are ranking for that one in slot 1 through 3. We're going to give that a score of 10. And then you weight your keyword choices. And so now we're layering in relevancy is more important than it ever has been. So for those that are interested in learning more about SEO, we actually did a really big podcast series with Ad Badger, which I'm wearing their hat right now. 4-part series where we go into all of the details. Very, very great series if you want to learn more about SEO.
And where can we find that?
Just type in Ad Badger SEO. I have a playlist for SEO. Kelsey, if you want to drop that in the links, just go to my YouTube channel, My Amazon Guy, to YouTube / My Amazon Guy, and then look at the SEO playlist. You can drop that in the comment section if you'd like.
Perfect. I'll get right on that. Okay, so I'll go through some questions that we got in.
And I do have one other question, by the way.
Okay, so I went into a category where Made in USA matters and did a ton of research on how to source profitable products in the US. So that's a comment.
Okay,
I think that's an important thing to do, right? Like, so I didn't spend a lot of time impacting how I think you need to make stuff in the US moving forward. It's an aspiration, but back to Norm's point initially, like, you got to be innovative. And so one of the ways you can be innovative is where and how you source and make your items. So for those that can make stuff in the States and get ahead of the curve before it inevitably comes back to the States, in my opinion, I think you're going to have a big advantage. Costly advantage, but big one.
I know one of the advantages doing your molds over in China and then saving a ton of money and then bringing them over and having your U.S.
Buy your molds out.
over.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, you could save a ton of.
Okay, let's see. So from Brett, Stephen, I'm having success selling in one category. Any way to sell in more than one category if I could cross over to others? Any way to get another honeymoon period in second category with the same ASIN?
So white hat tactics, I would say you could load your next item into a slightly different subcategory, even if it's technically a variation. That would be a white hat tactic to diversify your categorization. Black hat tactic, dupe the same item and load it to both categories and have completely unique copy, etc. The reason that's black hat is because it's typically duplicating an item which is against terms and conditions. But it's a very common practice that you see, especially in commodity-based items. So if you want to sell a particular item to two different demographics, you may sell one to preppers, for example, if you got like a knife, and you might also sell to kitchen stay-at-home wives. And so you would build two different listings. So that way you can market to both. So I don't use that tactic. I'm just generally aware of it, and it answers Brett's question here. There's no way to get another honeymoon period in a second category if the ASIN already has sales, unless you nuked the listing and started it from scratch. You'd have to remove it down to bare bones, like 2 words, no copy, no bullets, no photos, nothing. Leave it alone for 2 days and then restart it. That's how you restart a honeymoon period. But this is not a technique that is used very widely. It's very, very few use cases. I might have used this technique maybe like 3 times ever. So very, very hard bar to want to use that technique.
Okay, and let's see, just a second. Brand to the front, I think we did that one. Okay, from Simon, for Prime Day, should we amend our titles and bullets specifically for promotions?
Generally, no. Promotional content in titles is prohibited. Can also lead to listing yanks. I don't recommend it. Bullets, a little bit more gray, but I've also started to see Amazon signal that they don't even want promotional comments in bullet points. I do know that there is TNC against it. I just haven't seen them enforce it. As one example, giving a warranty guarantee statement like money back guarantee is a very common technique to put in like your 5th bullet. That's not against TNC, but it is something I've seen Amazon signal that they don't even want that anymore. And you definitely cannot, 100% cannot do any warranty guarantee promotional statement of any kind in A+ content or in a video ad. If you run a video ad, it has to be generic.
Now, they'll just refuse it, right?
Correct. They won't even allow it to go up.
Okay, and I believe this is our last question from Manny. 3 times I applied to brand registry and they answer after 1 minute and they tell you you cannot find it. I send them a link and screenshot and they didn't answer anymore. What can I do more?
So the serial number, depending, Manny, on how long you filed your mark, if it was a word mark, it takes 5 days before it will show up in the test system. If you're past that and you're having a problem with a word mark, you may want to send me a special note and I'll see if I can investigate what the problem is. The second problem is if you had a logo mark and it hasn't been 30 days, it takes 30 days for a logo mark to show up in the test system for Amazon to find it. You do need to wait that long before it'll work. I bet you it's one of those 2 things. If it's not, reach out to me at podcast@myamazonguy.com. I'll take a look.
Okay, if that's the last question, I have one.
All right, hit me.
All right, this is a simple one. You'll probably just loaded this up, but why are some reasons that people will fill on Amazon today?
They don't optimize every attribute on their listing. That is the most common reason. So they'll show up with their listing. They'll have like 3 photos and 5 bullet points with no A+ content. And then they might have a couple of campaigns advertised, but they don't have everything fully optimized. And so when somebody loads an item on Amazon, everything needs to be fully optimized, head to toe, without fail. Video, 6 photos, polarized photo contents that shows exactly what they're talking about. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. That Ad Badger series with SEO that I participated in was a very great piece of content. And so having all of your SEO flushed out behind the scenes and on the front end of your copy, not writing enough copy, putting A+ content with 0 copy is a huge problem. Not using a launch date when somebody loads a listing for the first time. These are all things that are core competencies that need to be in place. And then finally, the toughest one, we didn't talk a lot about this today, but I kind of referenced it from time to time, is building a community. So if you fail to build a community, you will eventually lose to somebody that does. It's inevitable. There's a reason why all of you guys are listening to Norm on his Lunch with Norm series. He's built a community with you. And that community has a very high amount of value, right? If Norm said, hey, tomorrow I'm launching a new brand and I'd love for you guys to participate in that and buy my item, he has hundreds of people who are going to come and do that with him just because they like his content, right? Same concept for whatever you sell on Amazon. It's extremely important for you to consider building a community. What are all of the problems that face that particular audience set, solving for that content, making sure your photos address the value prop behind solving those problems, making sure that the demographic is represented in those images. I'll get on the phone all the time, even with sophisticated money suit guys from an aggregator with millions of dollars, and I'll ask them what their target demographic is, and they'll tell me it's a woman between the ages of 35 and 40, and they're showing me men on the listing in the secondary images, and I'll be like, why are you doing that? And they don't have an answer. So if you want to beat the competition who has lots of money, you need to think like a marketer who knows how to profile a target demographic and go all in on it, and then also build content around that target demographic and solve for all of their needs. Become an educator in your space. If you sell yoga mats, talk about the 50 most common yoga poses, build video content, build imagery, infographics, and constantly on a daily basis grind the messaging behind that. If you sell precious metals and gold and silver coins, I used to do that at Atmix.com. And building out why what's the difference between a silver stacker and a numismatic seller, or somebody that buys bullion, and building educational content for each one of those target demographics. I could go on and on and on about how building a community has never been more important. Failure to do so, you will lose to somebody that will.
Okay. And what about the community on Amazon? Are you big into post, live?
I think it's an up and coming sector, right? Mm-hmm. So the ability to load live videos, social posts, if you haven't loaded a social post, it's super easy. You can schedule those out in advance, just like you can on Facebook and Instagram. Just go to posts.amazon.com and start loading social posts. It's free advertising that shows up on your competitor listings in the millions of impressions. It's like free advertising. You're tired of paying for your PPC, then you should be building a community in many other ways.
Yep. And you'll see that you'll actually build fans.
You do. You build super fans. Dr. Kaz on the screen right now is a super fan of my Amazon Guys podcast as well as yours. And, they just talked about social posts. I love posts. And, what are your take on them? Do your clients use them? Yeah, absolutely. We have dozens of clients that are using these as a way to lower and reduce their advertising costs, but still acquire new customers. I can't speak highly enough of them.
All right. Do we have any last questions? And then we'll get to the wheel.
So there were some that snuck in.
Okay.
If you guys want to go into those. Okay. So from Argo, what would email be if you want to sue a competitor who uses tile promotional text?
So I don't know what tiles promotional text means. Is that like secondary image? Not sure, but I would say sure. I would say you could use the seller support system to report a violation, and then if you're trying to sue or go into the legal standpoint, I will take my hat off for that one, and I would say go consult a lawyer.
Okay.
Okay, next from Daniel, could you please share some bread and butter tips to motivate newbies? My Amazon account is finally on. Now I need only the most important, find my first product and make some money.
So I'm going to take a line out of Elon Musk. If you need some motivation, stop and get out now. The journey you are on, he actually said that to entrepreneurs who need inspiration comments. But Daniel, I would say you need to have your own self-motivation to get through this. That's the best word of advice I would give you. There are many challenges ahead of you. It's absolutely worth it, bar none. But you need to have a way to get yourself out of bed every day, because if you don't have the stone skin, you will die a death of many pricks, because Amazon, Norm was actually the guy that said this on my podcast. He said, you got to pay your tax. So Daniel, be prepared to pay your tax either through money, time, blood, sweat, or tears, or a third born child. One of those probably will be needed.
Yeah. And the other thing you can do, Daniel, is you're listening to podcasts, which are great. But do you have a mentor? Are you part of any masterminds, good masterminds?
This is a great tip.
These are things that can help out too. So when you do come up, you do have a problem, you do need some motivation. these are the areas that can help you out. So I would suggest that you probably go and take a look at, a good group or a good mastermind, or find a good mentor.
Okay, and our last question from Tony. You can change your different pages, or it's a comment. You can change your different page titles on the Amazon storefront, like Mother's Day, sales, etc. Oh, and clarification from Argo's comments.
So real quick, I would say using your brand store to be promotional is a great idea. Amazon made it so you can program and schedule in multiple versions of your brand store. I don't know what the impact of it will be. Maybe it will be a good one. Maybe it'll be soft. I don't know. But it's a new technique that came out last Christmas.
Okay, great. And clarification on this one. Argo is meant, it's a 2021 upgraded on titles.
I'm really not sure on this one.
Not sure. Okay.
Norm, any ideas?
Sorry, Argo, I'm still a little bit confused. So let me see this again if I can read it.
Maybe it's about the title limit. Like certain categories have limited the number of characters, and they have lots more characters. Maybe that's that.
So, competitor who uses tile promotional text.
I've just never heard the phrase tiles promotional text.
I think he means titles. Titles. I think it's a.
Oh, okay. So using promo text in their title. Yeah, you don't need to sue them. Just report them. Just file a typical report violation and say, hey, this is against T&C. Here's a quote to the policy. Please review it.
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
Just you know what? I've just kind of got this karma rule. I don't report anybody. Like, some people report, some people, and that's fine. Like a lot of people can. But if I've got these competitors that are on my butt all the time, I just find a way that I can, usually by having a better solution or a better listing, I'll beat them out. But I just find that if I start reporting people, I just don't have this feel good about myself. It's just, I don't know. There's got to be other ways.
I think what Norm is saying right now is extremely respectful, right? Like, I don't know if you've read the book Power versus Force.
No, I haven't.
Destiny Wishon referred it my way a couple months back. I love that book. And so Norm is attracting people through power instead of force, right there with that comment, right? The ability to lead through passion and building people up versus retraction and taking people down through force is the pretty much the summary of that book. I think you would love it, Norm. You are somebody who follows the book without even reading it.
Oh, well, I will check that out. All right. So let's get to, now you got to see this, Stephen. This is the first time. The Wheel of Kelsey.
All right. I don't know. I like We Love Kelsey better, but.
Well, I only got a song for Wheel of Kelsey, so here we go.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
All right, it's everyone's favorite time, the Wheel of Kelsey. I'm going to go shuffle all the names, and here we go. So 3, 2, 1.
Suspense. Drum roll.
Here we go. Who got it?
Okay, Malou.
I can't read, it's so small on my screen.
Well, congratulations, Malou. You have a new
good.
My Amazon Guy t-shirt ready for you. Kelsey will send you the link to get that ordered. So thanks for being a fan and watching today.
All right.
And
remember that we have a link here that you can get the it's phase one.
Phase one SEO.
The SEO policy. So anyways, I think that's about it. Stephen.
Yeah, I think so.
It was a tough start. You were almost going to be talking to Kelsey the whole time.
I told Kelsey, let's go without Norm. Who needs that guy?
I almost put that into Skype from my other computer because I could not get on. Kelsey, you're going to be the host one of these days.
Well, Norm, I'm glad you made it. It was a pleasure being on. And to Norm's audience, I have massive amounts of respect for Norm. Norm is absolutely one of the good guys and the beard guy in the space. And so none of you need me to say that. You all know it already. But my hat goes off to you. Hap tip to Norm, the beard guy.
Hey, thank you. And right back at you, Stephen. All right. Well, thank you so much. Stephen, how can people get a hold of you?
So follow our podcast, youtube.com/myamazonguy. And if you feel inclined to check us out at myamazonguy.com.
Fantastic. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening in today. It was a rocky start, but we pulled it off. Kelsey, who do we have coming on?
Okay, so let me see. Monday. Yes, we have, or Wednesday, sorry. We have Paul Barron, and he's going to be on it talking about brand ambassadors. So yeah, it's going to be a good talk. We also have Shane Oglow on this Friday too, as well.
Okay.
Talking about editorial recommendations. So.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Paul, with what Stephen was just talking about, building communities, I think it's important because Paul's going to be filling that in with this brand ambassador. I mean, brand ambassadors are fantastic if you can find them. So he's going to show us how to find them. And Shane's always interesting. So he and I are partners over at PR Reach, and he's going to be talking about the advantages of getting the editorial recommendations. All right, everybody. So please remember, I'm going to do, see, you knew that you were doing something wrong, right? To smash those like buttons and to ring those bells, subscribe at our YouTube channel, and reach out and join the group if you like what you've been hearing.
Yes,
so
join the group. Oh, I'm going to interrupt you here. So join our group. We have our special contest for consultation with me and Norm, both an hour consultation. Go over to the group. It's pinned to the top of the board. It's in the announcements. It tells you exactly how to enter. Basically, breaking it down, bare bones. Easiest way to enter: share a video of your favorite Lunch with Norm episode. Use the hashtag LWNBeardNation and tag the Lunch with Norm podcast, and you'll be entered. So that's the easiest way. So go over there, and we look forward to it.
Fantastic. All right. So join us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, noon Eastern Standard Time. And thank you for watching. Thanks for being part of our community, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Lunch with Norm.